Welcome to our Wellness Wednesday Health Show. I'm your host, Dr. Kali Hewlett from the Back Pain and Joint Center of Texas. And we are just a few days away from moving into our new clinic. So I'm super excited to be here. But as you see, we're on Zoom today because I have a special guest joining us, Miss Jannah Hancock, who is a health coach. Jannah, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Jannah, when I hear the word health coach, I remember when I first heard the word health coach, I wasn't quite sure what to expect. Growing up playing sports, when I hear coach, I always think of like, one of my football or my basketball coach who's like, hey, work harder, go run more, and yelling at me to try to make me be a better player. So what is a health coach?
That's a very good question. A health coach is designed to help you eat better and help you live longer and help you eliminate anything in your world that may be causing you stress or inflammation.
So kind of like my coaches when I played sports, when I was younger, were helping me be better at that sport. You're helping people be better in their nutrition, in their life, in areas that, dare I say, more important than sports?
Yes, exactly. Okay. As what you eat has a huge amount of levity on your health.
It's so crazy. It's something I think everybody knows in this country, but it's rarely put into place. Like everybody knows if you eat a lot of junk food, it's unhealthy. You're going to get, you're going to have high cholesterol, your obesity. People know that, but yet when we drive down the road around lunchtime, dinner time, or almost any time, there's always lines at every fast food joint. So it's an interesting phenomenon where people know it, but it's not always maybe easy for them to apply in their life. Is that something you found?
Yes, and sometimes people just need to know how to shop and what they can eat. And with my program, it's all about real food.
Okay. I love the idea of a health coach. We've been, our practice has been here now going on 13 plus years. And I worked for other guys for a few years before that and then going through school. So we've always been in our family big into health and nutrition. It's been a big part of who we are being in the natural health field. But even last year, my wife was like, all right, I'm kind of tapped out on recipes and what to make. So she hired a raw chef just to help her learn to make more healthy raw dishes. Now, we still consume cooked foods, but she said, hey, this is an area I'm weak in. And so she hired someone to help teach her some dishes and actually did some grocery store shopping. And it was tremendously helpful. So I love the concept of a coach. But before we get into more of that, how did you get into it? Like, is this something personal for you?
Yes, absolutely. So I have food allergies in my family. And when I first discovered I had food allergies, I had just given birth to my son. And I discovered the very first thing that bothered me was horseradish. I actually had my tongue swell and some really icky things like that. But that was the first time I discovered I had an actual allergy with food. And as time went on, I discovered I had more food allergies because at that time frame, I also found out I was having a problem with eating mixed nuts or cashews or anything with peanut oil in it. So that was just the start of my journey. And then years later, my son was diagnosed with celiac disease, and I myself am celiac. So it's taken a very long journey for me to get where I am today versus where we were when we started.
And you said years later. So even when you had these initial, with the horseradish incident, it sounded like it was quite some time. Like, did you work through different things yourself or talking to friends, going to doctors?
Absolutely. I had been to several allergy doctors. Many of them were baffled at some of my allergies that I had. We did the test where they stick needles on your
Yes. Yep.
do all of that. Well, there was a few failed allergy testing attempts, and come to find out, one doctor finally told me, now, if you've been avoiding these foods for more than 90 days, you can have a false negative on these tests. And that was after I had retaken some of these tests 2 and 3 times. And so finally, it was when I started doing DNA testing and some other testing where it actually, and some muscle testing, where I actually found out exactly what was going on with my body. And then I was able to find out what foods specifically were causing me stress. And then after becoming a nutritionist first and then a health coach, then I realized, okay, there's a whole lot of signs that our body tells us that there's something wrong. And lots of people don't even know it, that they have something wrong with their digestion.
You know, it's almost like, I'm not a mechanic. I'm not an auto mechanic, but I know a good auto mechanic hears the sound in the engine, is like able to diagnose what's wrong with the car. And you're like, how did you even hear that? Because they know what they're listening for. And it's the same thing. Our body's going to tell us when something's not right. Oftentimes we just don't know what to listen for. And then I found that because on TV, there's so many commercials that are like, hey, if you have this symptom, just take this pill. Maybe it's over the counter, maybe it's prescription, but it's almost like, hey, don't worry about the sound in the engine. Just keep going. Don't worry about the fatigue. Don't worry about the dizziness, the headaches. Just take a pill and keep going. But when we do that, we don't actually hear what our body's trying to tell us. And as a result, things just get worse.
Right. So usually the practice of most medical doctors, as you know, treat the symptoms and don't actually get to the root of the problem. And if people were to be more conscious of the signs that their body is telling them, then they can take that information back to their doctor and say, when I eat this food, my body does this. Or when I eat this, then they can start a plan of recovery. And leaky gut is one of the largest symptoms that a lot of people have and don't even know it. And it can cause other health issues if not properly treated correctly.
Okay, very cool. Very, very good information. So someone may be watching this or thinking, okay, I'm having these different symptoms. Like, what would be, just say, and I know there's so many, what would be, say, 3 things that, from working with, and you as a health coach, 3 common symptoms that the body tells someone that are often ignored?
Okay, so I'm going to just list some of the top 3 that I hear the most. One is acid reflux. That is something super important, and you should never ignore that. Acid reflux means you have a problem, a serious problem with a certain kind of food, possibly. And also swelling of the ankles, swelling of the hands, feet, face. All of those swelling signs means that the body is in pain and in trouble. So that can also be a food issue or diabetes issue.
Okay.
And sometimes you just have to change your way of how you approach food, okay? And then the next symptom, I know lots of people usually ignore it, but irregular bowel movements like constipation as well as diarrhea, and sometimes after certain foods, some people don't realize that they may be spending more time in the bathroom than what they should be. And that's something that a lot of people really don't know is going on with them.
Okay, good. And it's funny you mentioned those things, because those are, if you overhear conversations at a restaurant, if a group of guys, well, maybe women, where guys usually don't talk about those things with each other. We just suck it up and tough it out and complain to our significant others. But it's funny, in healthcare, I find myself overhearing conversations that people have, and those are common things that they're talked about: digestive issues, swelling, right, and acid reflux or heartburn. So what you're saying is, if someone's having like the acid reflux, it's not necessarily, hey, go grab a thing of Tums from the store. It's more your body's trying to tell you something. We need to figure out, why is your body upset?
Yeah, it's like, what did you eat specifically? And then from there, I help people in the process of elimination to start to discover what food specifically is causing them the issue. And then once we get that figured out, then we have a way to avoid future episodes of acid reflux.
Okay, good. So when you work with someone, let's just say if that is the symptom, it's one of those you described: swelling, acid reflux, or constipation. You help with them to identify, hey, what's the trigger for that? And then, hey, let's get that out of your diet. And then what's the next step from there?
So I will use a real life situation from one of my clients that I helped just last week. He was complaining of indigestion and acid reflux. And I asked him, okay, what are you eating for your evening meal? And what time of day do you eat? Okay. And why that makes a difference sometimes is because with their habits, how long they stay up before they go to bed, it does make a difference how late you eat in the day sometimes. And for him, he was eating too close to bedtime. So then I just had him change just a couple of things. And he was eating bread with dinner, but lots of times bread doesn't sit well with everyone. And so because bread has gluten in it, it is inflammatory, and it can also cause acid reflux. Doesn't mean that that person is allergic to gluten in particular. It just means that it's not agreeing with them at that time of day, possibly. So with this person, he decided to start eating dinner an hour earlier and drink a lot of water with his meal. And that seemed to resolve the issue, and he doesn't do bread at night anymore.
Right. It's you almost make it sound so simple, but it's otherwise, I think most people would just say, hey, let me take some medication, more medication. Then that starts creating more problems. Then before you know it, they're on a second medication or a third, and never getting to the bottom of it. That's really cool. That's a really cool story. And I'm sure he's just thrilled that you're able to help him.
Yes, and that is more common than you think. And that's just, this client of mine never knew he even had an issue. He didn't think he had any digestion issues whatsoever. But when he started complaining with the acid reflux or indigestion, I suggested to him, well, start a food diary. I'd like to see what you're eating and at what time of day. And that's how we're able to resolve those issues.
I'm a huge fan of anti-inflammatory diet. In our clinic, we put everybody, we've done this for the last couple of years now, we put all of our patients on the anti-inflammatory diet. And for those that are watching this, if you're like, okay, we got the ball rolling, but there's so much when it comes to an anti-inflammatory diet and what that means and lifestyle, please reach out to Jannah. She can help you with some of the additional steps to take you even further. Or if you're like, hey, where do I start? Maybe you've never been on an anti-inflammatory diet, but you've heard about it, and instead of Googling, right? Google tells you, all the good stuff, all the bad stuff. It can be a wonderful resource, but it can be overwhelming as well. So it's nice to have a trusted health coach and resource. Let's do this. So our time's wrapping up here pretty quick. What would be, like, let's say, a top recommendation? Someone's watching this right now, and we've been talking a lot about nutrition. What would be just a best recommendation for how someone can improve their nutrition?
Okay,
All right, let me ask
so
you, improve their health through the nutrition.
yes. So eat more fresh fruits and vegetables. Okay. Take twice the time to dine, meaning chew your food twice as long and eat slower so that it will aid in the digestion process. And then drink water with every single meal.
Okay. And love those tips. And even when you chew longer, that feeling, I noticed a lot of people overeat because they eat so quick that by the time their internal gauge kicks in to the brain, they've already overeaten. And so by eating slower as well, it allows those internal hormones to better regulate. You don't overeat. So
Correct.
very, very cool.
And then the water also, drinking that with meal also helps you to feel fuller longer as well. So you're able to eat a little bit less.
Hey, good tip. Good tip that whoever you are listening to this or watching this, something you can implement today. Now, if someone wants to get in touch with you, because I've been on your website, feelgoodandgettough.com. Lots of great resources, blogs. You even had some really cool recipes, some for gluten-free rolls that I saw in there. So it looks like you got tons of great information. What's the best way to connect with you to learn more about some of the services you offer?
Okay, they can always send me an email at feelgoodandgettough@gmail.com.
Okay.
Okay.
Excellent.
Both listen to my podcasts, which I do record those every week. And I don't just talk about nutrition, but I also talk about easy ways for you to achieve goals in small, simple steps. So that's what Feel Good and Get Tough is all about. It's about feeling good about the choices that you make and getting tough by using self-discipline to help you achieve your goals and to make them a lasting goal. And the reason why I use the heart in my logo is to help you, remind you to always love yourself and take care of yourself, because that's also really, really important.
Okay, I like it. Excellent, excellent note to close on. And we'll put links. If someone's driving right now, don't worry, we'll put links so you can just click and connect through the website and to some of the other resources that she'd mentioned there as well. Thank you so much for your time today. Again, anybody watching this, if you think you need a health coach, you need a health coach, right? I can just tell you from personal experience, like there is so much misinformation out there when it comes to diet, health, nutrition, and so forth. And I find so often people unfairly expect their medical doctor to know everything about everything, right? When they're really good at certain things, right? I have some wonderful friends that are in the medical field, right? We're more holistic. We have medical providers in our clinic, and they're really good at certain things, but they don't know everything about everything, right? So it's wonderful to have someone who specializes in health, in nutrition. I know there's lots of other aspects on your page as well, where it talks about, the positive health, personal growth, faith, spirituality, business, all these things that kind of help create a well-rounded person. So love the idea. Again, I cannot encourage anybody enough. It is definitely worth connecting with someone like Jannah to be able to learn how to eat better, live better, and just have a phenomenal life. So Jannah, thank you for your time today. And
for having
you're very welcome. And as always, we wish everyone the best in health and wellness, and we'll see you next week. All right. Bye-bye.